Dzień dobry Państwu. Szybko po polsku kilka słów organizacyjnych. Ja się nazywam Łukasz Kamiński, poprowadzę panel po angielsku z naszymi gośćmi. Jedna rzecz, jeżeli Państwo czegoś nie zrozumieją w trakcie, albo będą chcieli doszczegółowić, albo usłyszeć więcej na jakiś temat, to po prostu podnieście ręce, przedstawcie się i wtedy przerwiemy rozmowę i przejdziemy do Państwa. Jeżeli Państwu przyjdzie do głowy coś strasznie ważnego, niecierpiącego zwłoki, to również proszę podnoście ręce. A teraz zaczynamy nasz panel. Gośćmi Państwa zaraz sami się przedstawią i dokładnie opowiedzą, czym się zajmują i kim się zajmują. Jest Dan, Andre i Marlon. Proszę, przywitajcie ich brawami. Okay, guys. Hi, first of all, and let's cut to the chase, not to waste our time, because I think we have an hour or something. First of all, a really brief, short, and to the point introduction. Could you tell me, how did you get into the music business? And what is your biggest success to date?
How did I got into the music business? Wow, it was a while ago. I used to do parties, like with live DJs and stuff like that, and then like I got in touch with a lot of agents because of that. And slowly I started to work more and more with live bands, and yeah. My biggest success, I don't know to say, like to point something, it's hard for me to say.
And how many years have you been in the business?
15, 20, something like that. I always did it since college, actually.
Andre?
I'm Andre. I started as a musician. Like Dan, I started running nights, but originally just to promote my own band. No one had heard of us and we couldn't get a gig, so we just did our own thing. But then the night started kind of spiraling, and then I started to have more and more opportunities to program festival stages and to be a promoter. And then I became an agent from doing all of that. In terms of biggest successes, still being here. Like, that's it, still being alive, still enjoying it, still being happy to do it, and still making a living. For me, that's the biggest success, you know?
After how many years?
Coming up nearly 20 now, yeah.
And my story is a bit different. So I was working in the charity sector before, and then also doing festivals in the summer. I spent some time at Radio 1 as a producer. Then I met Roots Maneuver, and his management needed someone to book some shows. I said I could do it, even though I didn't have experience. Sorry. And then I just ran with it. I've been an agent for 8 years, and I've never looked back. My biggest success is just like Andre said, just still surviving in this industry. It's quite challenging, and every day is a challenge. Like, I was on the phone today with a manager for like an hour, just going through the numbers. But yeah, making a living from music is what's my biggest success.
One of the first artists I booked was Roots Maneuver, actually.
So everything's connected. All right, we'll get to the struggles in a while. But first, I'd like to ask you about a hot topic to get it out of the way, but I think it's interesting for a lot of people. The Live Nation verdict that happened 2 years ago, that the American government conceded that Live Nation is a monopolist, and they'll be trying to cut them in half, presumably, to separate Live Nation and Ticketmaster. And I'd like to ask you, if you don't want to answer this question, just say you don't. But from your professional point of view, from your work, does this affect you in any way? And what are your thoughts on the verdict and on the whole situation? There might be some Live Nation people over here, so I just, you know.
That's why I was looking in the audience.
I want to answer in a more poetic way. Is like the lower the quality of chicken in the supermarket, the more independent butchers become important.
That's an Eric Cantona kind of answer, I guess.
Does that make sense? Like, for me, it's not. I mean, corporations have a general tendency towards monopoly. That's the way that the economic system that we all live inside works. We know this, right? So there's a natural, Live Nation. So in the time that I've been in the game, I've watched Live Nation eat up one after another, after another small operator, until you get to the point where you're like, well, we can't compete with somebody so big, so we have to allow ourselves to be eaten by them and hope that we gain some power and keep some sort of autonomy. That's just what happens. That's how it is, you know? My chicken and independent butcher comment is just to say that, like, me personally, I don't work that much with Live Nation. I work with some Live Nation festivals and promoters, but I work with pretty niche acts, and I work with pretty niche festivals and promoters, and I've chosen to to work like that. So certain type of artists will like to work with an independent agency and like to work with mostly independent festivals, and that almost becomes a brand in itself, you know. And certainly in my company and me personally, that's just how we roll on the whole. So I think there's always going to be space for independent operators, while acknowledging that Live Nation is ballooning.
You know, it's also, for some people, it's doing good stuff. You know, the fact they are monopoly. So it depends who you're asking. Of course, if you ask the more independent people, they are evil, they eat everyone, they are a monopoly. But if you ask an artist who just got an offer for a world tour in like imaginary amount of money, he will tell you, I'm good with that, you know. So I think like everything, it has two sides. Depends who you ask.
And from your point of view, did it Live Nation ever affect your work?
Personally, I just got like for one of my artists a very big offer last week from them, and it put me in a really uncomfortable situation with people I work for many years, like Ronald, but that's exactly what I'm talking about. That's why I answered what I answered. So of course the people who lost the artist in a specific market because Live Nation took them to a world tour are very upset and hate Live Nation, but for the artist, he got an offer he would never get, you know. So for her, it's a good thing. So it really, like everything, it's have cons and pros, I guess. More cons, obviously, but it's complicated.
I mean, they have all the festivals that all the artists want to play on. So I think it's, it's a game you've got to play, right? So you have to work with them to get the festivals. The artists are happy, and that's our job ultimately, to deliver for the artists that we work with.
All right, guys, and because the Polish music market is a little bit different. It's similar in many ways to the Western and world music market, but it's a little bit different. There's a popular 360 approach to managing and to dealing with artists. And the agents, there are some really good agents, but they take on other responsibilities and duties. Could you pinpoint, if you were to write a definition of an agent, like the 3 do's and don'ts that you guys have to do and able to be called a manager, to explain perhaps to some of the people that might not know the whole good definition?
To be called a manager or to be called an agent?
Agent.
Right.
3 do's and don'ts.
Don't be a manager, it's horrible. I highly advise I do it, but I don't know why. And and the agent, Andre can explain much more about it.
Yeah, I mean, broadly speaking, for anyone who doesn't know exactly what an agent does, an agent, because we always get it with people not in the industry. Somebody says, how many bands are you managing? I'm like, I'm not managing any bands, I'm an agent, but it's not often worth explaining the difference. But basically, an agent books live shows for the artist. And in theory, that's all we do. In reality, especially depending on the artist's own infrastructure, you often do end up doing quite a lot more than that and creeping into doing things that you're not officially supposed to be doing. But officially, the role of an agent is to book shows, get the shows on sale, collect ticket counts, make sure the artists get paid, sort out their position on the festival lineup, etc., etc. But basically, everything to do with booking shows. Would you agree?
Yeah, totally. It's just booking shows, really.
Yeah.
And I asked you guys about your success, and I don't want to use the word regret, but did you ever pass on an opportunity because you had too much to work, you weren't convinced, or you just didn't feel like doing or working with some artist, and in the end it turned out like a really bad decision? Because I'm asking this because I asked a lot of people, from promoters to producers, and each of them has this one artist that they said, well, not this time, and then suddenly they blow up and do stadiums. Did you ever pass on you don't have to mention names if you don't want to, but did you ever pass on somebody and then you said, well, maybe I shouldn't have?
Yeah, totally. Of course. But I think that you can't beat yourself up about that, because it's like you've got to say, I did what felt right to me at that time based on my instinct or my capacity or whatever. And then if it suddenly went up like that, you've got to say, well, great, good for them and good for the people who helped put them there. In the same way as sometimes you take things on that you really want to do and it doesn't go anywhere, but you can't beat yourself up about that either. You know, I think you just got to say, like I said, staying alive. and enjoying it is the key. You know, I think, I mean, they may be more philosophical than the question you asked, but like, I feel like, especially in the world of agents, you know, to an extent it's a sales job and it is about volume and money and positioning and all that sort of stuff. And so a lot of agents get quite competitive and quite aggressive about it. And there is a whole sort of like, yeah, we win it, you know. And like, for me, I really try to sort of course, we all like winning, we all like making money, but for me, it's very much about trying to keep in the center, like, what is the cultural impact of what I'm doing? Is this a creatively, artistically valuable artist? Are they giving something to the public? Are they giving them an experience that means something? And am I enjoying working with them? Because that's how people burn out. Like, if you're dealing with artists who are difficult managers, unrealistic expectations, flaky, like, there's a million ways that an artist can ruin your life. So I think just like keeping at the center, like, do I enjoy working with these people? Do I like these people? Do I want them to win? And do I believe in what they're giving to the world? For me, that's what matters.
And still earning money.
Of course, yeah, you've got to earn money, otherwise you can't keep doing it, right? Especially if you have a family or whatever. But that's, you know, that's at any job.
I mean, you're answering all the questions in the right way, to be honest with you, so it's difficult for me to say anything else.
Yeah, he said it's so good, so it's, I have nothing.
And tell me, guys, how do you discover music in today's times? Because you obviously visit showcases like this one. You get to see young bands. You probably listen to a lot of music. And is there like an overload of listening and of what's the like point that you just can't listen to any music anymore and you have to take a break? And how do you discover music? How do you discover artists that you want to potentially work with?
I think I'm slightly different to probably other agents, whereas in the past I'd work with like, new and exciting artists, whereas at the moment I'm starting to work with more established artists that have been with other agents who are looking to like rebrand and go out again. So that's kind of what I'm doing, but everyone else has a different view on how they should be an agent, really. Dan, how do you find it?
I think as I'm getting older and older, yeah, I'm also like a bit more oriented. I noticed I'm more oriented also to what's, do I really have the energy now to work like for 5 years to make someone established and getting the income, or should I just starting working with artists who already having the cash flow, you know? And lately I find myself doing that more. But I don't think it's a rule. I think it's life, as Andre said, you know. Of course, you need to make money also, so there's no right or wrong answer here. I think, it's at some point, maybe you look more on the financial aspect, definitely.
So to summarize, we're all a bunch of old bastards and we all want to make quick, easy money, and none of us want to put the groundwork in with new artists anymore. No,
this was my aim for this panel, to be honest.
no, I think
you can't be honest with people, man. You know.
That's the first rule. Don't be honest.
No, for me, like, I mean, we do get overwhelmed with inquiries and so on. Having said that, 98% of those inquiries are not suitable, and you can tell before you even click the like a lot of, with no disrespect, a lot of the time that people come to me, you know, I wouldn't misrepresent this. I don't even listen to it. I don't even click the links because you can tell that it's not suitable. But that depends also on you and your style. There's lots of different agents, and you know, me personally as an agent, I've got quite a specific thing that I do, which means that like 98% of the artists that come my way are not relevant to me. On the other hand, it means that something that is hyper relevant will probably find its way to me anyway, because I'll hear it from 5 different people who will all be texting me or calling me. So, yo, bro, I saw this band. They're totally up your street. You know, and I think that's the thing, is that the more that you kind of establish your own personal brand and your own personal lane, the more things just come to you naturally and the more things flow to you. And, you know, they'll be asking, who should be an agent? And 7 or 8 different people will say, you need this guy because he's the best person for you. So in a way, it sort of, for me, it like self-selects a little bit.
And to get to know your music taste a little bit, if you had an opportunity to work with any artist that you really like, just one artist, just one name, it can be from the top or from the bottom, but there's an opportunity, somebody comes up to you and says, right, this lady's up for grabs, you can work with her if you want to. Just tell me the name, please.
Lady Gaga. I went to see the show at the O2 and it was the best thing I've ever seen. That's, for me, I'd love to work with somebody like that.
This is a misleading answer because it doesn't tell you anything about my actual roster, but Kendrick, definitely Kendrick, yeah.
I don't know.
Okay.
Really.
If it pops into your mind later on, just barge in. Okay. And please tell me this. What do you think of situations like with Kanye West right now? Just a short answer. He's getting cancelled in UK. His shows are getting cancelled for obvious reasons, but also bands like Kneecap got cancelled for some other reasons, wise or not. And tell me, does this affect the market in your opinion? Are these like one-offs, or is this like good for the press and for the fans to just yap about, and it does not affect your work anyway? But do you feel that this era that we're living in, that you can actually take a big artist and say, no, you're not playing in our country because you this did and that? Is that a good thing? Is that a healthy sign, or is that a unhealthy sign?
I mean, I'm a massive Kanye fan, so I was a little bit disappointed that I can't see him in London. Yeah, that's a tough question to answer, really, isn't it? What do you guys think?
I mean, you've just opened a massive can of worms. You're making it sound like a simple question, but it's
That's
actually
why
an incredibly
gotta ask.
complicated, politically charged question. Like, for me personally, unlike Marlon, I'm not a massive Kanye fan. I think Kanye's an absolute arsehole. I've always thought that, even before all the anti-Semitic ranting, you know. For me, like, even to talk about Kneecap and Kanye in the same breath,
Exactly, it's not the same.
complicated, because for me, the Kneecap situation, like the Bob Villain situation, was a very complicated, amplified by the media, symbolic of a kind of complicated culture war, where actually, personally, I went to see Kneecap at West Holts. I love Kneecap. I'm Jewish. I love Kneecap. Do you know what I mean? I despise Kanye, and not just because of the anti-Semitic stuff, but that, for me, like, Kanye being banned from coming to the UK, the guy's fucking selling swastikas on a t-shirt. Of course he should not be allowed to perform in the UK. And anyone who thinks that that's like cancel culture or gone mad or whatever, frankly, no offense, has no sensitivity whatsoever to the whole situation. Whereas Kneecap, on the other hand, I see a lot of Jewish groups and Jewish people unreasonably, in my opinion, condemning Kneecap, when actually standing up for the Palestinians is, anyway, here we go, we're going down there, but like, yeah, for me, standing up for the Palestinians is not the same thing as being anti-Semitic. On the other hand, Kanye is openly anti-Semitic, and you know, and we talk about his mental health, whatever.
I'm a fan of his music. You know, I'm not getting into what he does. So that's the reason why I was a bit, you know, this is a hard topic to talk about, really, isn't it, right now?
He's going in, this guy, straight away. Going in hard.
Yeah, you have two Jews in this panel, actually, so it's a good question. Yeah, as Andre said very well, it's a totally different story, I think, between Kneecap and between Kanye. And you can't put it all in the same box. You know, like, cancel culture is cancel culture. It affects in many ways, but it's not. It's every case to itself, I think, and you can talk 2 hours about Kanye or 2 hours about Kneecap and have a debate about it. It's not like a question for a 1 minute answer.
Well, let's talk about Liraz, right? Like,
Yeah,
this
yeah,
is what I mean.
we
One of
want-
Dan's
yeah.
major artists is an Israeli, Yemeni, right? Persian, yeah. Talk about your experience with.
I also
presumably you can't get a book, right?
I can walk about a lot of cancelable artists because I work with Liraz. Andre worked on it too. We worked on it together, actually. Yeah, but he dropped her because she's from Israel. And I work also with Johnny Greenwood from Radiohead. And he have a project with musicians from all the Middle East. And it's also cancelled. It's also.
I work with Asaf Avidan, who's Israeli.
Yeah. So I cancelled million shows in the last 3 years, like very major shows also. Sometimes it came from the artist itself, sometimes it came from the event, sometimes it came from people emailing the event or stuff like that. So yeah, ask me everything. I'm very well experienced with it. But yeah, we had an artist, I had an artist, and we collaborated on it, that had like a zillion shows, and she's Persian and Israeli. And once the war started 3 years ago, she got completely cancelled. And like suddenly from really a lot of shows in almost every event you can imagine, we found ourselves like with nothing, and like the label dropped her, the booking agency dropped her, everyone dropped her. So yeah, it's something we experience a lot.
So it's a fairly new risk, I guess, to your job with the A new risk, like something added to stuff they have to deal with and thinking perhaps in signing an artist.
Yeah, I would say so. Like when I signed Asaf Avidan, like we spent a lot of time deep diving into his history, the posts that he's made, you know, Reddit forums, internal conversations as a company. I asked the team around me who I work with, are you happy to be on this part of this team? And they were like, yeah, we did our research. But it's very challenging. Like it is very challenging at the moment for sure.
My conclusion from that it's almost impossible in a way. Because once, as you said, once you dive deeper into everything an artist ever said or ever done, you will always find something. So I think at this point we are in a situation, not only with artists from Israel like Asaf Avidan or Liraz or whatever, but from artists all over the world that we're like in a peak, or Kanye West, we are in a peak position when, if you want to cancel someone, you will cancel him. It's like you just need to dive deep enough, I think.
And it's not just artists as well. I mean, I had 2 artists at Sonar last year in Barcelona, Branco and Dengue. And the Dengue guys asked me, look, we're under a lot of pressure. A lot of people on social media are saying we should cancel. I don't know if everybody followed that story or not, but Sonar is part of Superstruct, who are part of, what they called? KKR, yeah. Who have some investments in some Israeli estate agencies, like selling land in the settlements. Is that something like that, basically? And they're also involved in Boiler Room or whatever. Obviously, yeah, everybody knows. There was a whole council storm around various Superstruct events. So Dengue were like, right, what do we do? Like, should we cancel or should we not? And we couldn't connect on the phone over a few days, and I ended up, I was in the bath, and I left this like incredibly bleak 6-minute voice note where I basically said, to be honest, if you want to be clean, if you want everything that you do in this industry to be completely clean, kill yourself. Because, which is not to say that like I do approve of people taking personal stands on things. I do approve of mass like movements. I do to a certain extent. I do approve of boycotts. I do approve of companies being accountable and artists being accountable. I don't believe in culture being crushed for the sake of people who can't see the wood for the trees. And what I mean by that is that like basically, you know, how does any artist get to any festival often flying, right? How do you like what other investments do you think the companies that own the airlines have? Any building you're standing in, what do you think the building companies basically once, and this is what I said at the very beginning of this conversation about companies having a tendency towards monopolization.
Like the Great Escape 2 years ago.
Yeah, well, exactly that. But again, I mean, it was interesting talking to the operations director, Earth Agency, about that. He was furious about this. This is the Great Escape in the UK was boycotted because of Barclay was a sponsor and Barclay had various dodgy investments. He was furious. He was just like, look, it's not that we like this stuff, but it's like football, TV, all of these things, they're under much less scrutiny. Somehow in the music industry, everybody wants to be on the right side of history. And so like the scrutiny is like so minute compared to other things. So my general point here is not to say don't take a principled stand. Of course take a principled stand. But don't believe that by boycotting one single thing, you're somehow on the right side of history. And like it's like this really binary thing where like, if you do play Sonar, you're evil. If you don't play Sonar, you're good. It's like it's so much more complicated and nuanced than that. And ultimately, you can't escape from the fact that we live in this incredibly interconnected, complicated world. And basically, like I said, once a company gets to any kind of size, they're going to have all kinds of dodgy investments all over the place. And that applies to food, and it applies to buildings, and it applies to airplanes and stuff like that. So I think music is under this intense scrutiny, and like it's right to think hard about it, but it's also right to like, God, give it like. Don't overestimate the importance, and also just give it a bit of space. And for me, just to finish this slightly long point, there's a spiritual power in music and in people coming together that I also think has a political power almost in itself. 1,000 people raving together, 10,000 people raving together will do something and will have a political impact pretty much wherever they are and whatever they're doing. There's a kind of transformational and political power in that. And so I think this culture that wants events to be stopped and to be silenced is quite dangerous. Yeah.
But I guess the scrutiny comes from the fact that you won't expect so much from a TV presenter or even for a sports star as from a musician who's writing the soundtrack of your life. I mean, if you wanna, if you fall in love with a song in the back of your head, and it turns out the guy that wrote that song is a asshole, it kind of ruins a little bit the experience, I guess. So that's what the
For sure, and that's why I can't listen to Kanye. You know.
All right. And now maybe to a safer topic. No, but just for the moment, to chill down. And we're on a showcase right now, and I have this feeling, you guys know this probably best. There's so many showcases right now around the world. Some of them are similar, some are different. Tell me, how do they fit into your work? I mean, are they relevant to you? Are they interesting for you guys? Do you pay attention to them? Or has it become such a huge showcase market that it's hard to distinguish which ones are good, which ones are bad, which ones are important in time value?
I think during the years you understand which showcases are more like your cup of tea and which not. In which showcases, like someone really handpicked the artist to play, and you like the aesthetics and the general vibe of the event, and you can see someone thought about it. On the other end, you can see showcases that aren't really interesting, and but like everyone can play there, and there's no vibe. And I think you understand from your experience and from your life where you want to go and where not. And if it's a well picked showcase, yeah, you can find really cool artists to work with there. Yeah.
I mean, I think for artists, they're great. I think they're a stepping stone to be in front of agents and be in front of promoters, but they need to get out of the showcase world. It's like use it to get seen and be visible, but then get out of that world. If you're constantly playing showcase after showcase after showcase, year after year after year, without moving out of that space, then you've not really progressed.
Yeah, it's also worth saying that being on a showcase is one thing, having a good and well-attended showcase is another. And like for anyone here who's an artist and does showcase or is showcasing here tonight, putting on the hustle, whether it's like individually contacting people, delegates, putting up posters, just talking about it. By the way, my artist Rosa is playing tomorrow night. She's amazing. You should check her out. Yeah, like, you know, making sure that people actually come to the showcase when there's 8 different things on, because there's nothing more depressing than an artist traveling all the way to another country, spending a load of money, thinking it's going to make a massive impact, and then they play to 8 people and it does absolutely nothing. It's just sad. It's really, really sad for the artist when that happens, and it does happen all the time.
Yeah, it's also important not to do the showcase too early. Like not after you wrote in your first song or played 3 shows. Come prepared, come with some kind of a plan, a strategy that you can explain to people what's your next moves, what's the strategy.
And have a specific reason, right? A specific reason why you've picked that showcase, and also specific targets. You know, I think showcasing, like, if you're an independent band, you can do this work yourself. If you have a manager or agent, then great, even better. But like, identifying the like 10 or 20 people who are going to, not assuming that there's going to be people who come who are going to change your life, but trying to find the like relevant, maybe even just 10 people who are at that festival, and just like making sure that they come, you know. And even if they don't come, you've like made the effort of kind of putting your band on their radar or whatever. Another thing, I mean, to answer the question from our perspective, for guys like Marlon and Dan and myself, I think like there's a lot of reasons why people like us come to showcases that aren't necessarily to seek out new bands. You know, a lot of the time I'm turning up to a showcase, I'm not necessarily looking to sign anything. I'm really just turning up to like either catch up with existing colleagues or meet new people. I mean, like in me personally, I mostly now just go to showcases in places I haven't been, in places I don't know. Like I don't know the Polish market that well. I'm here to meet Polish promoters, basically.
Also for me, it's about seeing venues that I've booked acts into. So if I go, like for example, yesterday I went to Blue Note Poznan, and I've had artists play there time after time after time after time, but I've never been there. So when I went into the room, it was like, great, love the space, I understand why we're doing these shows in these markets. So yeah, that's another reason why I go to showcases, to see the venues and catch up with promoters and stuff like that.
Okay, and what are your one favorite showcase right now that's going on in the world that you would have to?
Next festival, obviously.
Oh yeah, of
The
course,
organizers
exactly.
are sitting here, so
I noticed.
I've been here all of 25 minutes, but it seems great so far. Yeah.
I mean, they're all good in their own way, right? You know.
but isn't there one that you really like to, as a professional and as a person?
IFF's quite good. No, Eurosonic.
Eurosonic's good,
Yeah,
for sure.
Eurosonic's
It's,
good.
you know, big one, mainstream one. I went to Changeover in Serbia a couple of years ago. That was really cool. Really interesting spaces. It was just interesting to go to Serbia. Went to PIN conference in Skopje, Macedonia. That was cool. Like I said, I like going to random ones, like in different places.
I agree with him because I think recently in the last few years I find the small ones more interesting than the big ones. Obviously the most efficient one are Eurosonic and the IFF, I agree. They are the best one, the more efficient. But when you go to the smaller ones, as Andre said, you meet colleagues, you meet people, like for your own network, it's really nice because it's more intimate. You have more attention to see new artists, and yeah, sometimes it's more productive.
But are you asking from an artist perspective, what's best for them or what's best for us?
For you guys.
IFF, I think.
I'd say Eurosonic from a business perspective. Like everyone's there, you get deals done, you get work done, you see exciting acts. A lot of them already do have agents, so from that perspective there's no point, but like it's just good for business really.
Yeah, for me, I like the small ones because my whole way of doing business is basically about making friends, and it's like friendship first, business later in a way. So if you're part of a small delegation, then often you get a chance to really hang out with people and meet people. And for me, I'd rather come away with like 3 actual new mates who I might at some point do business with. Then I mean, like me and you, we knew each other for 10 years before we ever did anything together. Do you know what I mean? For me, that's my way of doing things. So I really like the small ones because you see people again and again. It's organic. You get to hang out. Whereas the really big ones, like Eurosonic, I agree with you. It's really useful because there's loads of people there, but it's hectic. You know, you're trying to get people's time. Everyone's busy. All the important people are busy. It's like I like hanging out.
The one that actually I find this one really useful is Bush Festival in Budapest. Like Danish organises it, and you really get to spend time with promoters and go for dinner and talk about things. I think that's a really good one to go to. Musically, okay, but like actually hanging out with people is good.
Also, Ment is really cool, I think. They have a really good lineup there. Yeah.
And flipping to the artist side, if there's some Polish artists, if you were to advise them which showcase to start off, would you say to dive deep into Eurosonic, or perhaps start maybe with Ment or something smaller?
I think, as I said, it's more important if you're ready to do the showcase than where to start. Because if you're coming without like really nothing to say except your music, it's gonna be tough. Like I think like agents or managers or promoters or whatever, if they see the show and like it, they're gonna ask some questions like, okay, when do you release the album? When are you touring? Who's doing the PR? Or like things like that.
So how did you know Cinnamon Gum is ready to play Eurosonic?
Because I saw them in CU, right? That's the name of it. And I was really shocked, you know. I saw like a band that is fully ovened, you know, like it felt ready in so many ways. And then I met their manager, and she told me, yeah, we're recording the album. We're going to release it in a US label in that and that date and stuff like that. And actually, I think they did Eurosonic 1 year too early. But that's why I said it. But for example, but they're going to do like, let's say, Reeperbahn now. And now in Reeperbahn, we can explain much more about what's going on after. And they already have shows booked around it and stuff like that. So that's what I mean. Don't do it too early. Do it when you're ready.
Yeah, I would say Eurosonic is a great festival, but you have to play that at the right time. You know, like you need to be established in your home market. You need to be ready to be going out. You need to be set up in the right way. Otherwise, you know, like international agents are coming to see acts play there, but they can't sell 200 tickets at home. You know, like we want to go and see acts at Eurosonic that are like on their way and like ready to go. I saw Cinnamon Gun last year at Music Week Poland, and I thought they were brilliant. They're probably one of the best bands I saw.
It's an amazing band.
A lot of people on the road though. It's like 9 in the tour party.
Yeah, it's 9. That's a huge mistake. Don't do that. Like if you're an artist, because
Very, very expensive.
Have the showcase 2-piece set, yeah.
Also in showcases, when you come and you're like 10 people on stage, it's kind of a turn off in a way, because the agents or the festival that see your show and they say, okay, 10 hotel rooms, huge backline.
I remember seeing them and I was like, 1, 2, 3, 4, 7, TM, lighting and sound. I was like, nah.
We know the promoters are going. That's another thing actually on that is consistency about lineups. A lot of the time, newish projects are like have flexible different lineups. Oh, we're going to do a 3-piece here, a 5-piece there. We're going to use Joe Armand Jones and Blah for this show, but we're going to use the South African band for this show. You know, like that can be really confusing because often, especially, a lot of showcases are filming the shows in quite high quality, which can be a good way of getting a free live video if you make sure you get the assets, depending. Because a lot of the time, trying to sell something where the live show that they're going to bring is different from the live show that somebody can see on a video can be problematic. Or indeed trying to sell something without a video, especially when you're trying to break new artists. You need a live video, and it sounds so basic, but you'd be amazed how many people don't have that. Either it's not reflective of the actual show, or it's got an old singer in it, or whatever. Like, I would actually say more than anything, getting a decent, high quality, clear live video with live audio, not a track cut on top of some footage, is just such a vital asset. And in fact, I would say don't apply for a showcase or basically try and do anything unless you have that.
I get the dynamics, but it is kind of sad, right? That if you see a band that's like 10 people, you kind of automatically say, well, no, it's too costly. I mean, I guess the financial side pushes over the artistic side.
We're not the ones paying, right? Yeah. But we're just like, I know I won't be able to sell this because if it's a 10-person touring party, people are already hamstrung by a €2,000 hotel bill for an unknown band.
Yeah, also it's more like they're not going to be able to afford to tour. Like 200 cap room, €20 ticket, minus, you're getting $1,000 guarantee. Like, if they can afford to do that, then great, we can run it. But a lot of the time they'll say, we need more money, and that's why it becomes challenging because they can't sell the tickets to prove their worth. That's the hardest part about what we do. It's like showing people the proof of concept.
Okay, so if 10 is too much, 1 is, I guess, a little bit too little because it's sometimes hard to engage in a solo act. What's the perfect band size that you guys would think?
I'd say 4.
3 or 4, yeah.
And no old people, just 4 young people. You said like a old thing.
4 really slim young people that don't mind sharing bunk beds.
Yeah, share the same seat on train, right?
In a hostel, that's the dream.
I mean, in terms of, again, I don't know. Hands up if you are an artist here. I'm just intrigued. So it's a room full of mostly professionals? Like industry professionals? Or hands up if you are industry professionals. Okay, good to know. Who's everyone else? Students.
Okay, and please tell me, changing the subject a little bit, but staying on the perhaps showcase concert side, is the division between English and American music and European music still actual today? Or with Brexit and everything that's going on, does European music get more attention and more light that it deserves than in previous years when I guess a British band would have it easy from the beginning, as in being just British and having their history on their backs would be easier for them to play a show than a band from, I don't know, from Romania or from Poland or even from Sweden. Has this changed?
What's your perception of why that is?
Why has it changed?
Just you're saying it in general, the idea is that it's easier for British bands to play. Like, why?
Well, in Poland, I guess for many, many years, because we, in the communist times, I'm taking it way back, was that, the bands looked up to the American and British bands. I mean, the one time that Rolling Stones played in the 60s in Warsaw, that's an event that is still being talked till today. I mean, Miles Davis playing in 81 or 82 I think, in Warsaw, that still is the event that many jazz heads talk about. And if you would do a poll, how many people actually were there, it was like 50,000 people in a room that fits like 2,000, because everybody wants a piece of that history. So, and I guess a lot of bands and a lot of musicians used to learn music playing, I don't know, the Animals, the Stones, the Beatles and everything. We didn't have that much access to other kind of music, so we soaked up with the Anglo-American side. So that's...
I mean, for me personally, like, I spent a lot of time working with big acts from different markets. So Carpe from Norway, Mata from Poland, Azaria from Hungary, and they're great and they're massive in their home market, and that's really important. But then also we can tour them internationally because of the diaspora traveling and living in other markets. So, I mean, I think it's... yeah, I mean, like, the UK is the centre of the world, apparently, but, like, having really big artists domestically is also really important for the culture and for the scene. Yeah.
I work with few very big Turkish acts actually, like number one acts, and you know, obviously they don't sing in English or they sing partly in English or whatever, but they sell crazy amounts of tickets everywhere because of the huge diaspora. Okay, so I think that it's totally okay, and I guess everyone are influenced by, as you say, Anglo-American music, but that's something a bit like from the past. And I think the interesting thing that's happening now all over the globe is that it's become like localized. You know, so you have the influence of this kind of music, but you bring something of your own, and that's what makes your music unique and interesting, more than like trying to sound like a UK band when you're from Poznan. You know, good luck with that. So yeah.
You agree on that? All right. Okay. No, I was just interested because if you take the hottest bands right now that sell the most tickets, they're still Anglo-American, I guess. I mean, if you take the Irish scene from the bands from Dublin, Fountains DC, and all these bands, or like Kneecap, they're still from that part of the world. You didn't have a band like Fountains DC from France or from Italy or from Germany to conquer the world in a way.
Phoenix are from France.
That comes down to the language, right? Like
Daft
most
Punk.
people can understand English and American or English, so it makes it easier for them to be able to tour. Like I don't understand Polish, so for a Polish artist to be globally successful might be a bit more challenging. But at the same time, you've got artists like Stromae, who's like Belgium, speaks in Flemish, who's a global artist, but he's making music which the language doesn't necessarily matter, because the energy and the vibe and the show is what kind of draws people in. And that's the reason why I like working with artists from other markets, because I find somebody that I look at and I see the show and it's incredible. I'm like, the language doesn't matter, the show's incredible, and that's why we tour and work with them. And that's the reason why I work with lots of international artists.
It's interesting you mentioned France. That's an interesting example. Like, I remember passing through Paris on my way to Transmusicale, and one of my partners was like, "Oh, we've got an artist playing tonight at I can't remember which one it was, but like one of the like 12,000 or 8,000 cap venue, massive venue. Artists I'd never heard of, not just didn't know never heard of, and this, it was Orelsan. I don't know if anyone knows Orelsan, but it was just like, it's French hip hop, sells 8,000, 10,000 tickets in France. Nobody's heard of him outside France. It's just like, that's actually quite a big, strong, proud local market, and it's just like, I'm not saying Orelsan doesn't tour at all, but it's just like, you can have, and like German hip hop, right? It's like huge in Germany.
Luciano, like I work with PLK from France, and he does 2 days at Stade de France, like in 140,000 tickets in Paris, like, but in London it's 1,500, but he can still tour and it's still good business for him. But I think it just comes down to the language. Like most people around the world understand English, so that's the reason why those acts are bigger than others, I would say.
Okay, so do you find a band from non-English world singing in a broken English more interesting, or is it more off-putting than them singing in their national
That's
language?
a really good question. Depends on the context. I mean, I'm into a lot of African music, and I find that like Rokia Traore, particularly trying to sing in English, is like one of the most cringy things I've ever heard. But then some people can absolutely nail it. I think it just depends a little bit on the artist and their aptitude for language. I'm not against it necessarily. I think it's nice if it's a mix.
I think for me personally, like when I work with artists, I say to them like, okay, you're going on an international tour, remember that. So try and speak in a language that everyone can understand. Like if you're in Germany speaking Polish, if we're in the UK speaking Polish, you kind of like segregate your audience. Like you're not speaking to everyone. And I just say to them, like, if you can speak in English, it makes life a little bit easier. But I don't want them to sing in English. Just sing in the language which you naturally perform in, but just communicate with people in a language everyone can understand.
I think, yeah, like what they said, it's good to communicate with the crowd in English, but you shouldn't, like your lyrics should be in the language you feel comfortable and true it yourself. And I think like really I work, as Andre, I work a lot with artists who doesn't speak English, or don't sing in English, and I've been with them in every festival you can imagine, from Primavera to Roskilde to whatever, and they don't sing in English. It was never a barrier, I think, once it's authentic and works.
Also, the world order is changing. America's going down, the UK's going down, Korea's going up, China's going up. There's, you know, these things are shifting, I think.
That's one of my next questions, but I have a cringy
Sorry.
question before that. There's been, I mean, managers, agents are people behind the scenes by default. But there's been some huge, big star names, and this question comes from reading an article in the IQ magazine. It's the professional magazine for artists and for bookers and whatnot. And they did this whole big article on Kirk Summer. He's an agent for WMA, I think, and he's been working with The Killers, Adele, 9 Inch Nails, every name in the book he's been working with. And they did this 20-page piece on him with all the artists and all people from, I don't know, from Live Nation and from even from venues that work with him, like singing praise. And he's suddenly this big rock and roll star. So from your perspective, do you guys prefer to be behind the scenes, or do you feel that you have to make yourself known and being recognizable to the music industry, sometimes beyond the point of feeling good? Thank you so much.
Personally, like I'm one of a few people. I'm one of a few black agents in the UK, and a couple of years ago, I said to myself, I want to be known, I want to be visible, I want to be the guy. So I come to showcases, I speak at panels. I was at ILMC speaking there. Like, I'm just trying to be more visible personally, but everyone's different. Like, I like to be visible, and I want to be an agent of colour which people can look up to and go, like, I want to be like that person. Personally, anyway.
Yeah, I can't say that as a Jew that's necessary. The same way, what an industry which we've consistently dominated since ever. No, I think we're not stars, right? The artist is the stars, they're the talent. On the other hand, our longevity can be more sometimes. Like, you know, in a way, it's like, this is a complicated one and slightly off topic, but it's like sometimes there's an issue between an artist and a promoter, right? Yeah, something's happened. Might be the promoter's fault, might be the artist's fault, but something's gone down. Your artist and their management expect you to back them 100%, right? Reasonable expectation on their part. On the other hand, from your part, it depends on the situation, it depends on the artist, but yeah, you're working for the artist, you're representing them. On the other hand, you care about the ecosystem, and you also care about your relationship with that promoter. So obviously, if the promoters behave badly or whatever, then fine, cut off the promoter, back the artist 100%, whatever. But if it's a situation where it's kind of 50-50, or maybe the artist is a bit in the wrong as well, your artist basically expects you to kind of burn your bridge with that promoter, but you don't necessarily want to do that, because actually, in some ways, a promoter, a valued partner and client, is kind of more valuable to you than any one particular artist, because you're going to work with them over 20 artists over a 15-20 year period. So there's, you know, and artists and agents and artists and managers need to kind of know that. Like, for me, I care a lot about the ecosystem, a lot, you know, which is to say that, yeah, we're not the stars, they're the stars, but on the other hand, we also have our own brand, we have our own little kind of fiefdoms, kingdoms, whatever, we have our own sort of thing within which we operate, and it's also really important that we act, you know, obviously that we act with integrity, that we act with decency, but also that people enjoy hanging out with us. You know, I want people to say, oh, I met that guy, he's cool, he's funny, or whatever. Like, we, you know, I know that guy, like, yeah, he's all right. Do you know what I mean? You need to have a certain amount of a personal brand so that people feel like they're dealing with an entity that exists, that is like human and real. I mean, that's, you know, for, like, I would never work with, well, as part of a company like William Morris, whatever, partly because from my understanding of how they work, is it's like you have whole teams of people working on one artist who they've maybe never met or whatever. They're working regionally instead of with the artist, and that's just like, you know, it's just a corporate sales thing or whatever. Whereas for me, it's all about the unique relationships with that artist, and in a way, your relationship with the artist is symbiotic. It's like if you're at a conference as an agent and start acting like a dickhead, whatever, being inappropriate with the opposite sex or drinking too much or making rude whatever, that can reflect badly on all of your artists, you know, and vice versa. If an artist behaves in a certain way, and ultimately people will say to you, why are you backing this artist? So, you know, we're in this interchangeable thing where we all have our reputations to preserve, and for me that's a good thing. It's good that people are accountable. So yeah, I don't need to be a star, but I want people to know who I am, and I want people to be able to vouch for me. Does that make sense? Yeah.
Can you hear me? Yeah. Yeah, I think it's hard to be passionate about something you're not enjoying doing or not enjoying working with the people you work with. So, yeah, if someone is a dickhead or have like bad reputation or something like that, you wouldn't want to work with him. So obviously it's important to have some kind of like...
And just hanging on to this theme a little bit, do you treat the artist as your equals? Is it a client... company thing? Is it a friendship thing? How do you work the dynamics?
I used to get really upset with artists because I was so personally involved with them. Like I would, like every artist I worked with, I was like, it's the best thing ever. Like I love them, I love them, I love them. And like I was obsessed with them. Then they left me and then I was heartbroken, like honestly, genuinely heartbroken. So now it's more business. It's like, yeah, I work for you. Ultimately, you tell me what you want to do and I kind of help facilitate that for them, but it's like I can't get heartbroken anymore. I can't. It was dark times.
Yeah, I ran into somebody last night who used to be the manager of a really big artist, and I said I hadn't seen them for years since I was the agent of that artist, and neither of us is working with this artist anymore. And I said, "Oh, have you seen X recently?" She was like, "No." And you could tell that like they haven't spoken for 6 years since they separated or whatever. And I was like, God, it's weird. I said, I heard X has had a kid, and she was like, oh yeah, I think I heard that. Like, you know, it's like the separation can be so total. And I said, well, it's really like. She said, it's funny, you're so close to these people for such a long time, even closer than your own partner, and then you have nothing to do with them. But then often a lot of romantic relationships are like that. You know, you share your life with somebody so intensely, and then gone. And like, in a way, it has to be like that because it's so close. I don't, you know, not all. Some people can form a true friendship, and you know, I'm still on good terms with some artists who I'm no longer working with, and exes as well. You know, but like not always, and not the really important ones. You know, like yeah.
I think the reason why you have a really strong relationship with the artists that you work with is because you're trying to help them deliver what you know. You're trying to help them achieve their dreams and their goals, right? So whether it's The Great Escape, whether it's Leeds and Reading, whether it's Primavera, whether it's that, it's like you're helping them grow and you're helping them build their journey. So you feel so involved in that like when they do leave, if they ever leave or whatever, like that's why it's heartbreaking, because it's like I've nurtured this act from 50 tickets to 2,000 and then we've done this and this and this, and then they go, we want to try something else, and you're like, but what have I not delivered for you? That's when it gets hard.
Yeah. And I think it's a very different dynamic in an artist, depends on the stage he's at. I think it's an involving artist, you're really like hand in hand with him, and like it's really becoming close and passionate. But if it's an artist that's already on the go, it's much less personal, usually.
Is it possible to work with somebody again after a breakup? Kind of is it, or is this happens only in romantic film movies? Or something?
Never happened
Would
to
you
me.
go back to your ex? You would.
Everyone's done it.
No, I thought you were asking me the question. No, but yeah.
No, I mean, I know, like...
on a professional side.
Rebecca, who used to be one of the agents at Earth, was with Wiley on and off for like 10 or 15 years, and he'd have some sort of blow up and he'd go a little bit crazy and they'd drop each other.
Wiley
And
is
then
strange. So
yeah, but then they'd come back again. And, you know, I mean, you can have this... Again, I had a toxic relationship with an artist that lasted about 10 years, and we probably took 3 or 4 breaks. We like, you know, I think I'd sent him like a breakup email at Christmas pretty much every year for like 4 years. And, you know, eventually we have just about parted ways for now.
Did you part ways with them, or did they part ways with you? I think that's the different. Like, if somebody parts way with you, would you then take them back?
I see your point. Yeah, often we have our pride, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, no, I'm not.
Yeah.
No, you can't come back running to me with your arms open, hoping that I work with you again. No, I
It
can't.
depends on the context, right? It depends on the context. But yeah, you're right. Often it's like we drop them because
Yeah,
whatever, and
I'll
then
drop
we-
somebody, but
Yeah.
you drop me, I'm not. We're not. Yeah, no.
And would you be like that in a romantic relationship as well, Marlon?
Of course.
Yeah.
Yeah, you can't dump me and expect me to come back.
If
to
you dump
darling.
someone, you can let them back in. But if they
yeah,
dump you, you wouldn't.
exactly.
Ever.
Yeah. Because
That's logical.
yeah,
we're getting into some personal stuff here. No, okay. Guys, tell me, in the beginning you told me that one of the successes or biggest success is surviving. And I would like to ask you if you've had a point at some in your career that you thought you're gonna throw in the towel, that you said, oh, this is, I can't do this anymore.
Every year, every year until this year, literally every year until this year, because when you start, I've been an agent for 8 years, and when you start out, you're literally like trying to tread water. You're just trying to stay alive. You're trying to stay alive. You're trying to stay alive. You book some shows, you make enough money, then you're like, right, and then you do it. And like, I literally said to myself, I'm now 40, and I said to myself, if I get to 40 and I'm not making the money that I want from this career, then I'll find something else that I can make more money from. My wife's like, you love music, stay in music, like, we will figure this out. And this year I'm 41 in April, or next week, 2 weeks, and this is the year that I'm starting to make the money from the job. But like every year until this year, I was like, I'm done. January comes around, I'm like, I'm looking for jobs, I'm like figuring out different stuff, but this year was the year that it's like finally happened, and I'm like, I'm finally happy. Really, yeah.
I actually haven't, because unlike Marlon, I sort of didn't come into it just trying to be an agent. I think, like, you know, I was running parties, I was running events, I was doing some festival stages, I was doing some teaching, percussion, I was doing some playing, I was doing a real mixture of stuff. And then the balance just like gradually shifted. It was like I was doing enough agency stuff that I could, you know, I stopped promoting. And right when you got into business, I stopped being a promoter, but I had been doing that alongside. And then just bit by bit, it's kind of just grown incrementally, and I've stopped doing other stuff. Mostly, I still do some other stuff, but you know, mostly I've stopped. It's got to the point. So I've never really had that thing where it's everything I do has been riding on just being an agent. So because of that, I guess I've never had to, like, now it's all going fine, and you know, I hope it will continue for another good few years.
For me, when I started as an agent, like, I was doing bar jobs, I was doing evenings and weekends, doing other stuff, like trying to do the job that I really, really love doing. So like when I'm finally making enough money to make it a proper job, I'm like, it was worth the early mornings and the late nights to finally do something I actually love doing for a living.
I never did something else, so like really, maybe it's sad in a way, but yeah, I'm doing music, like dealing with music as a promoter or whatever, like since I remember myself, and yeah, I never thought about doing something else.
Yeah, there's only two other jobs where I hear about people being like that. One is drug dealing, and the other is teaching, which just like no matter how you try and get out of them, they'll keep coming back. Yeah, every teacher I know and every drug dealer I know says the same thing. You try and change your life, you try and get out of it, and it always comes you back. And next thing you know, you're teaching second degree maths or like, yeah, I don't know. It's
It's nice of you to put the three jobs side by side. Like teachers, drug dealers,
dealer,
agents.
music agent, right.
Okay, we're running. We have 15 minutes. Is there any questions from the public that you guys like to ask? One chance to ask these gentlemen. No question. Oh.
Hello, my name is Arthur. I'm from the band called Clavon. We're playing sort of jazz music, and I have actually two questions for you. So first, I think it might have been already a little bit answered, but to what extent is Eastern/Central Europe on your radar as agents in terms of signing Central European artists and starting cooperations with guys from Poland, from Hungary, from Czech Republic, and so on? I know that some of you guys, like Dan, is working with Cinnamon Gun, yeah, and Marlon is working with Mata. So this is the question, like, how much are you interested as agents working with artists from here?
I find it, I'm very curious about the Polish market, or like the Eastern market in general. I think there are like very cool stuff going on here, more interesting than a lot of, I don't like this division of Western, Eastern. I think every place it's for itself, and if it's interesting no matter where you come from. And I for me, it's kind of imaginary borders, I have to say. Because if you're a Polish band or a band from Hungary or whatever, and you're really cool and unique and doing something that is interesting, who cares where you're from? I mean, like, and everything today, you just take a train and you're in Amsterdam or a short flight, so it's not a big issue. I think it's more about what you're doing than where you come from. For me, it's not even a...
if you can get the visibility, though,
If-
because I think that's like Marlon said. You know, you need to be pretty big in your own country because you know, to get the attention in England or France or Germany or something, if you come from Poland or Hungary or whatever, it can just be harder. I guess it's like I mean, someone like Jazz Boys is a good example, right? They come from
Hungary, I work with them, But they're like, they wear 1,500 tickets in Hungary, but they do 600 tickets in London. So that's quite a good balance. But then in Paris, it's 300. In Amsterdam, it's 300. Like, it just depends in the business, right? Like, I love working with them, so it's a happy project to work with. But then I've also got other acts that like make enough money for me to have the fun projects. And I think as an agent, we have to have the balance of like the fun projects that you like working with because you genuinely like the music from Poland, from Belarus, from Hungary, from Italy, from France, from forever. But then you need those bigger acts that keep the lights on so that you can work with the passion projects.
One thing about Poland specifically is like we Western Europeans do find a lot of Polish names really hard to pronounce / remember how to spell. My grandmother was Polish. I have no idea how to spell her maiden name. Do you know what I mean? Like Schlitsky, how the fuck do you spell that? Like, you know, it's just like I think considering how it will look and how it will appear to people. I mean, you know, Jazz Boys, a good example, right? That's kind of easy to like.
There's 3 people on stage. They tour quite easily. I mean,
You meant the name.
yeah.
Actually, it's an interesting point because I work with another Polish artist. It's Leona Jacewska. And her name was
Say what?
Leona Jacewska. It took me time to learn it. My mother is Polish too. But I mean, actually her name before was Charlie. And I told her Leona Jacewska is much more interesting than something random like Charlie. So she told me, should I change it? I told her, yes, sure. It's actually more interesting and more authentic. I think it will catch the attention even more. And I think it's working like that. Like it's, yeah.
I personally don't really care where someone's from. It's like, do I like the music and do I find them interesting enough to want to work with? They could be from anywhere.
Right, thank you. So now a second question, if I may, just very quickly, do you have any tips or advice for a band like ours that has already toured a little bit internationally? Like we played Ronnie Scott's, we played Monterey, we played Eurosonic, and a couple of others, but still we're not capable of touring in a sustainable way outside Poland. So any hints on increasing the visibility or kind of making the bridge from the point that we're right now to being, you know, bookable?
Again, I think it's a question you can ask anywhere you're from. It can be Poland. If you're thinking about specifically from Poland, I also used to promote some Polish artists like Hania Rani, for example. And I think what made, and I booked her, I did like few shows with her. It started with 200 capacities and ended up with 1,600. Okay, so, and what caught my attention from the first point to her is that she had a very unique sound and aesthetics that I think are unique for Poland. You know, in her visuality, in her videos, in all her language, on her Instagram page, everything. It was very accurate, and it shows something very authentic and unique for Poland. And I think that's what made it more like, what's the word I'm looking for? That's what caught my eye and my attention, that she brought something I didn't encounter before.
For me, a lot of the artists I work with like lose money when they leave their domestic market because the offers are a lot lower than what they get, but it's an investment to them. And that's kind of what artists have to do. Like they have to just be on the road and tour and build and gain new fans and be on the road, but like using the home market as a financial buffer to be able to tour. So I would just say like continue playing at home, build your fan base, grow your audience, be better on social media, you know, make sure you've got a local PR whenever you go to a new country or new market, and just keep on going at it and trying to pick up new fans everywhere you go. Do collaborations with local artists every time you go somewhere different. Just be around and be outside and just be visible.
Yeah, I mean, there's 2 main types of shows, right? Festivals and headline shows, basically. And some festivals you can do without having a certain ticket value, just if you fit the aesthetic of the festival or whatever. Although that's becoming less and less true, even now, as things are getting harder and harder. Fewer and fewer festivals are willing to book artists that don't have a ticket selling value. So then you know, other than the handful of people who just love what you're doing and are willing to put you on, you basically have to start selling tickets, right? And the question is, how are you going to do that? How are you going to expect to get to a position where you can sell enough tickets in France or England or wherever to make it worth touring? Again, the simple answer is like videos and social media, I think. I mean, like, one of my artists, Henge, just sold out like a week of Spanish shows in cities they'd never played before just by spending outrageous money on I mean, they have really good assets and really good videos, but they also spent more than the guarantees they were getting on social media advertising, separate from the marketing budget being put in by the promoter. They spent it themselves out of their own long-term plan, because they were like, we know that if we smash these 5 shows in Spain, something's going to happen. You know, we're going to start to open it as a market. And they did. They sold out all 5 shows. Small caps, but they sold out all 5 shows, made a loss on that tour. But suddenly they exist in Spain, and now they're playing festivals. And you know what I mean? It's like, so it's partly having a strategy of being like, you know, being realistic. And you're like, right, okay, you know, you're in the jazz world. You go, okay, cool. Can we play this venue and this venue? You know, pick 3 European cities where you think you might actually have a chance of selling out a 200 cap show, and then do every single thing you possibly can to get those shows sold out and go from there. You know.
Thank you.
I think we're closing in, but I want to leave the public with some music. So if you could just tell the people over here which band or artist that you're working with these people have to listen to when they leave the panel.
I mean, I have to say Rosa, that's ROZSA, because she's playing tomorrow night at a venue. Does anyone know the name of it? It's called... I'll tell you in a second while these guys think about their answers. But she's really cool. It's like solo harp and electronics and voice. Kind of like, I always say, like Portishead meets Alice Coltrane. It's kind of like a bit trip-hop, a bit jazzy. Also, my artist, Nubian Twist, just released a new album a couple of weeks ago. It's incredible. You should definitely check that out. That's Nubian Twist, Nubiyan Twist.
Okay, so we got 2 bands from Andre. Locum.
Locum, yeah. She's playing at Locum at what time? 8? 8:15. Rosa at Locum. You won't regret it. She's awesome. Yes, sorry. Good point. Yeah, Nubian Twist are playing Blue Summer Jazz Days right here in Poznan in July. Okay. Thanks to these guys.
Good tips. Dan?
I think I listen to her mostly now. It's Alizadeh. She's like from kind of Turkey and Azerbaijan. She grew up in both countries, but she's banned from Turkey because of her lyrics. And yeah, she's gonna play a few major festivals this summer, like Ziget.
How you spell it?
Alizadeh.
You spell it?
Alizade. Alizadeh. And she's also very influencing me, because I learned a lot from her, because she's very Gen Z. She's 24 years old, but she have 1.5 million on TikTok and 3 million on Spotify, and she did it without PR, without everything, only from social media. And it's also interesting to see, and that shows a lot about the festivals now, that like I show her, hey, I booked you in Ziget, Florence and the Machine are playing. Who? You know, so it's very interesting, because you learn a lot about the crowd and about how people in their 20s look about music and music events in general, and how they develop themselves now. Like it's all about the social media, etc. So for me, it's an interesting lesson.
For me, I would say an artist called Anais that I work with. She's been around for a while, but she dropped a new album in December, which is absolutely incredible. She's been touring recently, and all the shows have been sold out, and everyone's had an amazing time watching her perform. And then another artist called Gold Ford. He's from the US, great performer, kind of retro soul-y kind of vibe. 2 great artists to check out from my roster.
Thanks a lot, guys. Thanks everybody here for attention. And yeah, and if you want to ask the guys any more questions, they'll be around the concerts. And yeah, so feel free to come up and talk to them. They probably love to. So yeah, have a good day. Cheers.
And thank you very much for hosting.
Yeah. Oh, also, I'm DJing at the Delegate After Party tomorrow night, midnight until 2 a.m. So come and check that as well if you want.
made it very lively.